Addiction is something I'm pretty sure everyone struggles with. I'm not just talking about addiction to League, but in general. Most people associate addiction with tobacco, drugs, and alcohol, but there are many that are non-substance related, such as gambling, pornography, food, the internet, mobile phones. But before we can talk about what makes League so addicting, I think it's best to understand just how addiction works in the first place. Prior to understanding the science, it was thought that addiction resulted from lack of willpower, but it is now understood that addiction is a physiological disease. It changes the brain structure in ways that can alter the way it works and processes information. To understand how that happens, we first need to start thinking about reward and the brain's natural reward system. The reward pathway's primary function is to reinforce sets of behaviors. Evolutionarily, it began as a way to indicate to us that the actions that help us to survive are good and we should keep doing them. This is mediated through a chemical called dopamine. Following an appropriate behavior, the reward pathway releases a small amount of dopamine. That burst of dopamine is a satisfying jolt, encouraging you to repeat the same action in the future. Dopamine in turn also acts on areas responsible for memory and movement, which helps us to automatically build up memories which are good for survival. The problem is that addictive substances and behaviors hijack our natural reward system. Every substance, behavior, or stimulant has slightly different actions on our brain, but all addictive stimulants have one thing in common. All addictive supplements cause dopamine to flood the reward pathway 10 times higher than the natural reward would normally would. But with chronic use, nothing else natural is quite rewarding. In fact, the more you use the substance or stimulant, the more the circuits adapt and reduce their sensitivity to dopamine. This phenomenon is called tolerance. For example, let's say a person takes cocaine for the first time. The reward system receives a huge burst of dopamine, but as the person takes more and more, this overstimulation causes the brain to adapt to these chronically high levels of dopamine. To compensate and adapt to the new normal, the brain reduces the number of receptors available in the reward system and releases less dopamine. As a result, that person will feel the need to increase the amount of the drug just so they can feel normal. And this effect can make it so that a person needs the drug or stimulant in order to feel normal. The overall effect is to have the stimulant-seeking behavior driven by habit rather than conscious choice. This biological basis helps to explain why addiction is really a brain disease and not a matter of willpower. Now, there are multiple things that make League fun and addictive, but I think the best place to start is with its gambling-like aspect. Everything from the music, art, and design is meant to create a strong connection to the brain. Every aspect is meant to be recognizable and distinguishable. There are many small wins in League that keep you hooked and engaged, from CSing, tower plating, Shelly charge, even the sound of buying items and many other aspects. League is really good at having cause and effect shown to the player. This is important because all these minor victories release constant hits of dopamine that keep you playing, and it is in every aspect of the game. To list some examples, recalling after killing Baron is one of them. The buffed recall is so satisfying because it's essentially like a victory ride home. This also results in you being stronger than your opponent via XP and gold gained from killing the Baron. I'm sure all of you have had that rush of dopamine when your team manages to steal the Baron, which brings you back into the game and eventually leads up to you winning. A lot of League's champions are designed in a way that makes piloting them captivating and addictive. When you play a champion, every ability has a unique sound and visuals. I'm sure that some people would be able to recognize what champions are being played without even seeing them, and these effects make the player feel like they have accomplished something, causing a small rush of dopamine by hitting these abilities. All of these aspects create immersion for the player. You become sucked into a virtual world that evokes real emotion. The end of the game shows this the most. You get a built-up noise of the Nexus being destroyed before a climactic explosion. The music transitions as you are shown the final message of either victory or defeat. The post-match lobby gives you time to reflect on your current feelings, the game being simply a cause of that. This is done because emotions and feelings are what cause addiction. At the end of every League game, you're reminded about how good a win is or how bad a loss felt. Some have even gone to call losing a game of League as despair. Either way, they want you to care about winning. They want you to feel something. They want you to sink all your time into the game which causes the sunk cost fallacy. What is the sunk cost fallacy? The sunk cost fallacy is our tendency to continue with an endeavor we've invested money, effort, and time into, even if the current cost outweighs the benefit. This common decision-making pitfall, along with the ranked system, keeps you playing, and you begin to tie your identity to the game. The game gives you quantifiable stats of success, which add more stakes to the game, making every win and loss that much more emotionally impactful. Let's take myself for example. I've been playing League since season 7. I was introduced to it by friends in school, but I never really took it seriously. And that was because I used to play basketball, which I liked more because of the physical intensity that League simply can't match. I sadly had tendonitis in my left Achilles, which meant I lost my competitive outlet, which made me focus more and more on League because it was the only thing that I could find that would fill the void that was missing. And now that I peaked Master Tier, I will probably never quit because of the sunk cost fallacy. Too much time and effort have been put into this for me to ever really consider quitting. I'm definitely not as addicted as most people because I do still prioritize things like work, physical and mental health over it, but most people aren't as lucky and don't have the discipline to stop themselves from playing. And I definitely wasn't always like this. I did have my phase where everyone goes through this phase where they just allow League to take over their life and they sacrifice everything for it. They become trapped within the gambling-esque matchmaking system. The game makes you as the player feel like you have control over winning or losing by making your character get stronger over the match as a result of your small wins. Whether you progress or not is being decided by the algorithm, comparing you to other players of your skill level and giving you wins or losses if it feels like you should be higher rank. Now, for many people such as myself, escaping the sunk cost fallacy is beyond our reach. But for those who want to get out while they still can, what can they do? The best way I have personally found to spend less time on League is by focusing my energy on building good habits. If you do this, you will slowly transform your life to where your addiction doesn't seem as appealing as doing other things. It's like spending time with friends or going to the gym or just maybe even doing another hobby. But overall, improving your mental health is the best way to overcome any addiction. Personal recommendations, I would consider meditating and practicing mindfulness, which has worked the best for me. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to say a big thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button as well. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks again.